Let's get to it. So sorry about that. Anyway, yes, I'm in Calgary. Brian's in Minneapolis. We've got Charlotte, North Carolina. Great. We've got Salt Lake City. Hello, same time zone as me. Amazing. Cool. So the webinar that you've signed up for today is breaking into big retail. What small, medium-sized businesses have to change to make it work? So we're going to be covering how you can scale from maybe you're just doing direct to consumer on your Shopify site, or you're selling in a couple local stores, or you have your own shop and you're looking at trying to break into larger retail partners. Great, exciting challenge to work through, and we're going to tell you about the details of it. I'm Richard. I'm with Katana. I manage our tech partners. Been here for about 3 years, and I work really close with Brian to help out businesses move into larger retailers, and I will let him introduce himself.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Brian Palazzo. I've been at SPS Commerce the past 10 years. The past 4 years, we've been working with Katana, and it's been a great partnership. So I'm excited to show you the strides we made in 2025.
Awesome. Okay, agenda today. Uh, we're going to talk about moving into big retail. What is that like? We're going to talk about getting your systems ready. We're going to talk about inventory because Katana is an inventory platform. So you probably are either already on Katana or you're looking at an inventory system. And then we're going to go into Q&A. Definitely, please put your questions in the Q&A box. If you add them to the chat, I will try my very best to stay on top of it. I will revisit them at the end, but if you put them in the Q&A, it'll make sure they don't get lost because you've already seen my capabilities today. So put them in the chat. Okay, and Katana, we are an inventory system. We help people do manufacturing as well. So if you're looking to transform some sort of raw material into finished good. We help people out with that. A lot of our customers are in clothing and apparel, machinery and metal, food and beverage as well. Really sort of just like any consumable good we can help you out with. We try to make things as fun and approachable and as easy to use as possible. We've got some lovely awards down at the footer, so it's not just me, but our customers like us as well. And we operate pretty much globally. Um, and yeah, we've been around for like 8 years now. I'm gonna pass it over to Brian. Talk about SPS.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So when you think about SPS Commerce, we've been doing EDI the past 25 years. We're a full service EDI provider. And probably the biggest value of us is that we do have the largest retail network. So as you can see on the right, we're mapped out to over 3,500 buying orgs. So we are a publicly traded company. We have over 3,200 employees, and we have these EDI maps built out to, your marketplaces and your big box retailers.
Perfect. Okay. We've thrown around a lot of abbreviations already. We've got D2C, B2B. Let's start off with what is EDI?
For sure. Yeah, no, people always ask about that. I mean, EDI, just think of it as just a way to communicate information. So if you go to the next slide, Richard, it'll help. But yeah, it's just a way to communicate with your retailers, your 3PLs. And the biggest thing about EDI is every retailer, they'll have different specs. So they'll have a different way to map out to them. And then they'll also have a different way for like shipments or invoices. So we can really help out with that since we have all these, EDI maps already built. So it's a little bit different from D2C, but really it's just, getting into those big box retailers and being able to map out to them, and then also the 3PL components. But just think of EDI going back and forth from your system of record to those big box retailers.
Nice. Um, so a lot of Katana merchants are already direct to consumer. Um, how should they start to think about going from direct to consumer if they want to go into a big retailer that requires EDI?
For sure. And that's where like most of our customers start off. I mean, they're going D2C, they're just shipping to the doorstep.
Hmm.
And that's how they really show their brand out. That's why, the big box retailers, let's say like a Target and Costco. So we see them like running on like Shopify and then like other marketplaces. They might have Excel and like spreadsheet. It's just a lot of like manual work. So when you get into big box retailer, if anyone on the call here is, let's say, I always use Target because they're headquartered in Minneapolis, Minnesota. But if you want to get into like a Target or Costco, you need to be EDI compliant with them, right? Because you're not just shipping to the doorstep, you're going to be shipping to DCs, you might be shipping to stores, and they want those shipments on time. So that's like the biggest thing about like getting into big box, and you need to be EDI compliant with that.
Cool. Um, I guess we're ready for the next slide. Okay. Um, what are sort of the differences of direct to consumer and working with a large retailer? And also, is there just one way to go about doing this, or are there different ways to think about leveraging EDI?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there's a couple different ways. I mean, if you do have the IT team that can map out to these
Hmm.
retailers, that usually works if you have like one or two. But there is like different ways to map out to each retailer. So when you're starting like direct to consumer, it is like that smaller SKU count. You're on the website. It's that, like a lot more like manual work. So I would say the biggest like differences for people and brands on this call is you're going to be getting those larger purchase orders, and then you're going to have to ship those on time because if you don't, then you'll get those chargebacks, and that's really going to hurt like your revenue and everything. So you'll see on the next slide when we go into that. But every retailer, they want one standard way to send all this EDI information. You can't just ship it to their DC, like you need to be EDI compliant with them. So I always like to say it's mostly on the different big box retailers that you work with because they're going to require different EDI documents. Like I was saying before, like Costco requires six, but
Hmm.
Target only requires four. So both of those have different maps. So that's what SPS Commerce is here to help with.
Can
So,
you talk about an example of a customer moving into a larger retailer and how they got set up?
yeah. Yeah. So we have a couple examples from Katana. I mean, one I would bring up, they had three trading partners. That's why I keep saying Target,
Hmm.
Costco, then also Kihi.
Yeah, the big
So
ones.
that's three different EDI maps that they need to be, EDI compliant with. But they also had a 3PL. So they're shipping all those orders to the 3PL also. So when we talk about the integration slide, I'll kind of show you the workflow and like how that works. But we're really here to make sure that they're EDI compliant. So it's not on you or your IT team to map out to the Costco specs, for example.
Nice. Can you also talk a little bit more about the process of getting set up with SPS? 'Cause something that I think is really interesting uh, is how your team does a lot of the working with merchants to get it connected, and it's almost like a consultant sort of perspective versus just like a plug and play, which is great because you guys add that customer focused help.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably what makes us different, I would say, is that we're that full service EDI approach. So we're the only one that's going to give you all the technology and tools, but we're also going to give you the people and processes to back that up. So, like getting into, let's say, Costco, for example, all we need to know is your vendor ID.
Hmm.
And then we'll make sure you're EDI compliant with Costco. For example, they're a customer of ours. We have over 4,000 brands on that EDI map. So if they change something, SPS Commerce is the first ones to know. So we could
Yeah,
usually get them connected with Costco in about 3 to 5 business days.
cool.
And what makes us different is that we're going to handle all that technology, but you also going to have that account team with the whole like account manager and consultant to help do all those EDI maps to the retailers and 3PLs.
Nice. Something that you just touched on is sort of chargebacks, following rules. Every retailer has different like structures that you have to follow. Um, can you tell us what happens if you don't follow EDI rules? And could someone maybe do this themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, they could if it's like one trading partner, but once it's you start adding the trading partners and 3PLs, it's all different EDI maps. So that's where you, as you can see on the screen, you'll really hurt like the revenue with with the chargebacks and then also your relationships. So what a chargeback is, let's say you're working with Target and they want you to ship that on time. If you don't hit those deadlines, or if Target on their side, if they change their EDI map and you're not EDI compliant and you start seeing errors, that is all on the brand and the supplier. That's not on Target. So that's when you get
Mhm.
chargebacks and it will really hurt like your revenue. Um, but I would say just being on the partnership side for the past 10 years, like everything always boils down to like relationships. So you get your first PO from Target, you're excited to get into Whole Foods, Walmart. You want
Mhm.
that Target relationship to go well so you could keep spreading your product and you could keep selling more. So that's what SPS Commerce does is we're going to handle all the EDI compliance and all the EDI issues when they change the map and everything. So you don't have to
Mhm.
worry about it. We want you focused on selling t-shirts or selling protein shakes, whatever you sell inside Target and Costco, we want you focused on that and not worried about an IT team or like EDI compliance.
Yeah.
So I would say
Um,
for sure revenue, and then I would also say the relationship because it's so exciting, right? When you get into Target and they're going to ship to their DC and they're going to send you these large purchase orders. Like you
mhm.
want to make sure that relationship's good, and you don't want like a late shipment or something small with a chargeback to like ruin that.
Yeah. I know you always want to put like a best foot forward and get those repeat orders in. Um, uh, what is like the typical like do most retailers have like a standard fine or is it a percentage if you're like late on orders or not following the EDI process correctly?
Yeah, so usually it's a fine. It'll just be a fine of
Mm,
I'm just throwing out there,
yeah,
$5,000, $10,000. So I mean, I hear like a lot of like late shipments, or if Walmart changes their EDI map and you didn't know, and they're
right.
seeing errors. But then, yeah, that fine's going directly to the brand.
Mm,
So that's probably like the biggest risk with the chargebacks. And like this is newer to these brands because they've been selling on Shopify. They're just, shipping to the doorstep. If it's late, maybe you get a mad customer. But once you
yeah,
get into these big box, it could really hurt the whole relationship when they're sending these large purchase orders to you.
yeah, totally. I mean, we see that on the Katana side where uh you people will they'll try and sort of handle shipping themselves, but then they'll quickly realize, I need a shipping partner, like ShipStation or Ship
Yeah.
Theory, because this is really complicated to, once you've got more than a couple orders a day, it's a lot of details to keep up with, especially if you then get into returns. Um, so yeah, finding the right system to help you out with that works with your inventory platform is key, so you can avoid the costly fees and fines. And then, as you said, maintaining the like healthy vendor relationships is critical. So you want to get that right. It's like, yeah, you're sort of looking at going from your key customer being like maybe a repeat buyer who would come to your physical store or your web shop, and you're now looking at like Walmart is your key customer. It's interesting. Big shift.
No, for sure. I mean, I would say like on your side, especially that whole like inventory, like for EDI, there's an inventory fee that you send to Target so they know. But if they're gonna, like order 400 items and you only have 100, like they're
Mhm.
not going to want to order from you again. So that's another key piece too, just, having it in the systems like ShipStation, Katana, so they know what inventory you have on hand and what they
Yeah.
could order. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. Supply chain management, always an interesting one. But yeah, could you talk a little bit about how Katana works with SPS and how the two platforms come together? Bit of a trick question because we've got this lovely diagram of how this works. Um, but maybe to start, just because this is a lot of information, a lot of letters and numbers. Um, Brian, could you maybe contextualize this about how a merchant is working with both Katana and SPS and how this all goes together?
For sure. Yeah. No, this is a good diagram. Try to ignore the numbers going back and forth. With EDI, there's four core EDI documents. So think of like the purchase order, invoice, advanced ship notice, purchase order acknowledgement. And there's probably 200 different EDI documents, but those are the core four. So we'll start on the left here. And at least for my example that we were working with, Richard, about 2 months ago when they had those three trading partners. So I think it was Target,
Hmm.
Costco, and then also Kihi. So we work with all the retailers and distributors, and we translate that in an EDI format into your Katana system. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but when Target sends you that purchase order, it's going to go as a sales order inside Katana. And then we're going to make sure that you're EDI compliant with the invoice and that whole like inventory feed that I was speaking about. So we
Hmm.
can send those EDI documents back and forth between your retailers, distributors, and even those marketplaces. When I was working with that one brand, they just added a new 3PL. So it's awesome that our system automation with Katana has those 3PL documents. So you could send that order out to your 3PL, and then
Hmm.
they'll send the shipment back. So what I want to highlight here, at least on our integration, if the customer, has Katana, you're living and breathing inside Katana. I'm sure there's some brands on the call today that they might have their Shopify site and they might be in like some marketplaces. So you might be working with like, let's say like a retail link or a commerce hub. And you're going to all these different portals, and that could get really annoying when you start adding those trading partners. So what SPS Commerce is doing, we're sending the EDI documents back and forth, but we're integrating all that inside Katana so you could live and breathe inside Katana.
Nice. Um, Also, we're sort of getting towards the end of the content. So if you have questions, I see Kathleen put a question in. Um, we will come to those questions in a couple minutes. Um, uh, so the customers going into Walmart, Target, I'm going to assume that's a lot of like food and beverage. Um, and I know that we work with a ton of food and beverage customers together. But can you talk a little bit more like retail, like maybe like home goods or clothing and apparel? Like, what is the relationship like with those merchants? And is it maybe a bit different than a, say, food and beverage one that's pretty common for us?
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, I would say most of our, opportunities are food and beverage. For like SPS Commerce as a company, I mean, we have over 50,000 customers. So what we do really well is any big box retailer, but like think of like sporting goods or like furniture companies.
Mhm.
So it all depends. I like to go back. It all depends on what retailer you want to connect with. Like I said before in the call, like Costco, they have, six EDI documents that they require. So you need to
Yeah.
be EDI compliant with six of them, but then Target's only four. So for us as a company, SPS, like we don't really care like what you sell. Like we want to make this so you don't have to worry about EDI. All these EDI orders will go straight inside Katana. So you can focus on, selling more protein shakes or,
Mhm.
selling the cool new shoes. Like we want you focused on your product so you don't have to worry about EDI. So for us, it really doesn't matter what retailer they're in. We're going to map out to the specs, or we have that EDI map already built, and we'll make sure they're EDI compliant with them.
Great. Okay, you also mentioned that like different retailers have different like EDI specifications, is there one like I know there's like 801, 856, like I'm assuming like the numbers basically just mean like a piece of information. Sort of, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I know I
Okay.
don't like putting the numbers on the slide to be honest, just because, there's 200 different EDI documents, but I mean the core four
Mhm.
would be that purchase order. So think of the purchase order coming from Target. It'll go inside Katana. And then the next one's usually the invoice. That's 810. And then
Yeah.
the whole inventory advice, that's just showing what inventory you have on hand that you can ship to
Mhm.
Target.
Yeah.
So those are like our core four that we see. That's why we have that integrated inside Katana. Sometimes there might be a weird like 832 EDI document.
Mhm.
We also have our fulfillment platform. So when you connect to Target or Costco, you'll be EDI compliant with all the EDI documents. We have the core four integrated inside Katana. But if there's like a one-off document that you get once or twice a month, you could just
Yeah.
use our fulfillment platform and be EDI compliant, which is the main goal of this.
Cool. All right. I'm starting to see some questions coming in. We'll come to those momentarily. Thank you, everyone. Um, but yeah, that's like the bulk of the content today. But something that we sort of want to like reference back to is uh like Katana is a platform, or if you're using a different inventory platform, you're going to spend a lot of your time like just in the inventory platform, and that's going to be your source of truth. Whereas someone like SPS Commerce, it's almost like they're sort of invisible. Like the value of working with a partner like this is you don't need to hop from like different portals to your back to your inventory system, back to a different portal, back to a different merchant system. And you can sort of just leverage everything through your inventory portal for your singular source of truth. And then you'll work with your EDI expert to get those orders and that information over correctly, which is very helpful because, as we know, jumping from thing to thing is not fun. You saw me do it at the start of this webinar. Um, okay, it's time for questions. We've got a couple already. Let's start with Kathleen's because that came in first. She says, currently we are using SPS Commerce. We have seen small back charges. How can we view them to see why they are back charging?
Perfect. That's a good question, Kathleen. Yeah, so we could help with those whole chargebacks that you mentioned. We actually have, which I didn't put on the slides here, we actually have a revenue recovery team. So SPS Commerce in the beginning of February, we bought Carbon 6 and then also Supply Pike. So we have a new team at SPS that can help you with those chargebacks and with those issues. So after this call, I think Richard on the last side, you have like my email and like a QR
Mhm.
code. We could connect and we'll connect about your account and I'll get you to the correct people at SPS Commerce to help out with that.
Yeah, I've met some of the great people at Carbon 6 and they're awesome to work with.
Well, because they're Canadian.
They are Canadian. Hello, hello, my Toronto friends. Okay, question from Elliot says, my business currently uses Shopify plus SPS Commerce. Good to see so many SPS Commerce customers in today. We are in a handful of big box retailers, Costco, Bass Pro, and Tractor Supply. When we receive a PO, we have to manually transmit the EDI documents. Then they also manually enter the order into our Shopify storefront. With Katana, we will not need to manually enter orders in Shopify. The Katana system will automatically push the orders through. Yes, that is correct. Right, Brian?
Yes, so I could elaborate on that. And Elliot,
Yes.
thank you for the question. I'll connect with you after the call and I'll bring the account manager into this. But there's a couple different options you can do. We have a Shopify integration. Today, we're obviously here talking about the Katana integration. So we want to know where your one source of truth is. It seems like we'll be in Katana. Most times they want to integrate it inside Katana. So we can bring those Shopify orders inside Katana, and it will be pretty easy to do that. That's not a big deal at all. We see that all the time. So we could help with that. I'll get your account manager after this, and I'll follow up with you on that.
Yeah, perfect. Next question, I think it's follow-up to that one, is to confirm Katana sends EDI
Yeah.
documents. The user does not need to do it manually. Well, it would be SPS sending the EDI documents manually. So yes.
Yep. And I just saw your comment now. Yes. So you're probably using our fulfillment platform. And I mean, for people on the call that don't use SPS or don't know, we have a fulfillment platform that can get you EDI compliant in about 3 to 5 business days with any retail trading partner. That is like a different web portal, so it won't be integrated inside your system. This is say 90% of our customers start out on fulfillment because they're getting 5 to 10 purchase orders from the Target and Costco a month. So it's totally fine to enter it. Has great dashboards. You'll get an email and you'll be EDI compliant with them within a week. It's really once they start adding, I think you said like Bass Pro and other EDI trading partners, where that our fulfillment platform is taking too long. So this is a perfect example where we could integrate all those orders inside of Katana so you could stay there. So Elliot, we'll connect after this call and we can walk through. I have like a pre-recorded demo I could send over, and I'll bring someone technical to go through the whole workflow and everything.
Awesome. And another question is, does Katana have good integrations with Commerce Hub slash, I want to say it's Disco for retailers like Chewy and Home Depot? Um, we don't have native integrations into Chewy and Home Depot, but there's definitely ways that we can make this happen. Um, and then we could also work with, like, Brian, is SPS
Yeah,
connected into Home Depot?
for sure. Yeah, so that's where you would bring us in.
Yeah.
So we work with Home Depot. I think like Commerce Hub, they do Home Depot, and then also like Bed Bath and Beyond.
Mhm.
They force you to use Commerce Hub. That's totally fine. We call like an interconnect with them. So we treat Commerce Hub as a trading partner. So we could integrate all those Commerce Hub orders inside your Katana system. So that's not a big deal at all. We could help out with that.
Cool. Yeah, Elliot made a comment saying it's a major time suck to manually
Yeah,
enter these orders, especially for big box retailers where we drop ship. Yeah, I know. And also when you go into the manual elements, you have a big risk of just order numbers being wrong. And then something that Brian pointed out is these EDI rules can change, and I'm sure they're just changing sort of like willy-nilly at times. And they probably do their very best to inform merchants, but it's very hard to stay on top of all these things, especially if you've got a really large team. So the value of working with an EDI service is there.
for sure. And yeah, like that's the whole point. Like we don't want this to be a slow process for you. So I know you said you're adding trading partners and like fulfillment's taken too long. That's totally normal for us. We usually
Mhm.
see our customers use fulfillment, for 6 to 12 months. Hopefully it's only a month and they want to add 4 trading partners. Like we want you not to worry about EDI, and we want to find a way to integrate all those documents inside your system. So you're not going to the Commerce Hub, Retail Link, and SPS. We just want you to live and breathe inside Katana. That's our main goal.
Um, Next question is, uh, what if the customer wants to connect with a retailer you're not already built out into?
Oh, wow, that was a good question. That's totally fine. I mean, we're mapped out to over 3,500 buying orgs. So most of the time we have the EDI map. I usually like to say like once or twice we don't. That's totally fine. SPS Commerce will build that out for free on your behalf. We do that obviously to be a good customer, but we do that because we know other suppliers and brands will want to work with that retailer also.
Mhm.
So we could totally do that free of charge. That's not a big deal. But I don't see it happen too much. I know on our website you could see all the people that we connect with, but if there's anyone that we don't, or if you're worried about, you could just reach out to me or your account manager at SPS and we could help out with that.
Awesome. Um, Another example is a Katana customer is just getting into Costco. Congratulations. How long does it typically take to become EDI compliant for a business like Costco?
Yeah, I know Costco's great because at least for Costco, they're an SPS Commerce customer. So what that means is that we're their full service EDI provider. So if you want to get inside Costco, you do have to go through SPS. So to the timelines for Costco, since they're a customer, we don't do testing with them. We can
Hmm.
just can get you up and running in Costco. So usually about 3 to 5 business days. If it is some other, retail trading partner that are not a customer of SPS, it's usually about 4 to 7 business days. So I like to say under a week, we can make you EDI compliant. So most of the time we'll get an email or call saying, hey, I just got into Whole Foods. I need to be EDI compliant by December 1st. Can you help us out? Yes, we can. It's usually under a week. We could make sure you're sending those orders out.
Yeah, a week is great. It's definitely, I mean, getting into Costco seems daunting for me, so a week is a great amount of time. Is that sort of what merchants expect as well? Like when they put in, like they send their first order, are they anticipating something like that from the customer, from the merchant?
Yeah, I mean, usually what they expect, they're giving us a heads up, like, hey, we're talking to Dot Foods or we're talking to Whole Foods, like we should be live by December, so we know, so we can
Hmm.
kind of obviously hit those timelines. Obviously, I don't love it, when they're like, hey, we're about to be live today, we need help.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we want to go as quick as possible. But yeah, usually under a week, just to be EDI compliant. And since we were talking about integration, that retailer like Target and Costco, they won't know if it's integrated inside Katana or not. We have the Katana integration. We also have our fulfillment platform. But the main thing here is you'll be EDI compliant with Target, so you can send and receive all those EDI documents.
lovely. And final question that I'm seeing is someone has low EDI volume, so maybe like what do you consider low amount?
Yeah. So, I mean, low isn't bad. I mean, they're just getting into,
Hmm.
Dot Foods or Whole Foods. So, low amounts to us would be if you're doing under 40 or 50 EDI documents a month and you
Yeah.
call us, say, hey, I want this integrated inside Katana. Our
Hmm.
sales rep probably won't recommend that. We have a great fulfillment platform and you could be EDI compliant in a week. You could
Nice.
fulfill those orders. It's really once, I think Elliot was saying it, once you get into those 2 or 3 other retailers, and then once you have a 3PL that we would, recommend our Katana integration.
Hmm.
With SPS Commerce, we have a dashboard so we get to see all your EDI documents. So if we see you go from 10 EDI documents October, obviously Black Friday, and you go to 500 the next month, we know you're going to be interested in that SPS Katana integration. So you'll have that account manager to kind of watch those documents, and we'll, give you the heads up and tell you when it's a good time for that integration inside Katana. But I'd say like 90% of our customers start off on our fulfillment platform because they're just getting in the retailer and they're just kind of learning their ways there.
Yeah, nice stepping stone.
Yeah,
Well, that looks like that's all for questions today. But as Brian mentioned, if you would like to speak with him and learn more about EDI, you can scan that QR code. If you're interested in learning more about Katana, you can scan the other QR code, and my team will be here to help you out. Um, but yeah, that was everything for today. Brian, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone in the audience, thank you for joining and for your lovely questions as well.
perfect. Thank you, Richard. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Please reach out if you do have any questions. It is on the last slide with the QR code.
Mhm.
I could help out and I could connect you with your SBS Commerce account manager. But no, thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, everyone.